Why the way we talk about data is holding the industry back and what you can do about it. That's what I'm here to talk to you about. Everything we do turns to data. As your business and your business process transform from analog to digital, everything we do turns to data. And enterprises of all sizes are struggling to make sense of it all because instead of delivering fabulous insights, this data can cause all kinds of chaos. But you data leaders know how to use data to help grow your business, to help improve your business, to help protect your business. But do you know how to explain that value to your business? Do you talk about how you're going to deliver a data-driven utopia of interoperability where insights flow freely from workflow to edge across integrated ecosystems? Or do you talk about how you're going to implement the latest analytics graph hub fabric mesh? Is that what Paco made? He invented that? Or are you going to talk about the difference between data products, data as a product, and data productization? Well, listen up, you CDOs, you CDAOs, you CDAIOU, and sometimes YOs. I never met a CEO or a CFO who cares about how you're going to do that stuff until they understand why it's important. Focus on the why, not the how. And this techno-babble that we've all become so fluent in creates a perception in the minds of the business that data's the new bullshit. Somebody's got to say it. Why the way we talk about data is holding the industry back and what you can do about it. That's what I'm here to talk to you about this morning today. So I'm thrilled to be kicking off the Senzing user group. I want to thank Jeff and the whole team and Suzanne for everybody for bringing me here, and especially Jamie, wherever he is. Irina from Amtrak's here. It's not her fault, okay? Just be nice to her today. She told me sometimes data doesn't fix everything, so you were right. But I'm going to do Data's the New Bullshit, my special Gen AI edition, because all you got to do is add AI to everything and make it new, right? You're going to change the way I spell my name. See if that works. My mission today, my objective today, what I hope I can do for you today is help give you new ways to talk about what you already know. You know how to use data. But do you know how to convey that value in a business accessible way? So the people who have the engagement you're looking for, who have the support that you're looking for, who have the funding you're looking for, will get it, will understand. You've got to put it into a story. So my company, I'm from Meta Consulting. We're about what it's about. Meta. No, we're not going to change our name to Facebook. I get that question all the time. I provide what I call data evangelism as a service, a way to get people fired up about the data management and the entity resolution work that all of you do. And I talk about how people talk about data. It's an interesting little niche. I come by this honestly, my street cred I got from starting in pre-2K, working with Nielsen, done in Bradstreet, a lot of these world-class, iconic data companies. And I've spoken to every type of enterprise at every level of maturity in every category all over the earth. That just limits my scope there. But that's where my experience comes from. Talking with folks like you and realizing the challenges you face, the problems you have, the opportunities that you're looking for are actually more the same than they are different, no matter what business you're in. I'm a content creator in the data space, a data whisperer. In case you haven't noticed, spoiler alert, I don't do a whole lot of whispering. We save that for the data. I'm out there telling, yelling, and selling about the power and value of proper data management. I do all kinds of content on YouTube. Check me out. I've got a whole series called The Data Puppets, which we can't touch on today. But take a look at those. It stars the CDO, the Chief Dog Officer, and the ITB who speaks only in buzzwords. I've got all kinds of wonderful accolades in the influencer space. I do events like this and videos and data town halls for enterprises. And in case you're wondering, this is actually a demo. So if you like what I do, happy to do it for your organization as well. And I wrote this book, as Will had mentioned, telling your data storytelling for data management, 99% buzzword free. I did not want to overpromise. Recently translated into French, where it's 99% Saint-Mont à la mode, which of course means no words with ice cream. And I'll be happy to sign your books anytime today. I'll be around all day, so happy to sign those books as well. We're all trying to be disruptive in the data space. I come by that honestly as well. Here's my 4th grade picture. See if you can pick me out. I still like the polka dots. And in my report card, my teacher wrote, Scott is disruptive and distracting to others. I took that as a compliment. When you talk about data to your business partners, when you talk about data to the rest of the non-technical organization, do they think in the words of the great Canadian philosopher? I'm sure some of you were thinking, Canadian philosopher? Yes, Avril Lavigne. Why do we have to go make things so complicated? Why do we have to do that? That's from her great 80s hit, Dater Boy. Data is super confusing. It can be so confusing. The lake house. Who has a lake house? I'm sure that's where your CEO thinks your data goes on vacation. Our data fabric, it ripped. Our data mesh, we got tangled. How about the data spanks? Tighten up that integration. Software as a service. I've heard some people flip it around and say it's now service as a software. That's literally SaaS backwards. Who uses SQL? Everybody use SQL? A lot of SQL fans in the audience, I'm sure. No SQL. Who knows what the NO in NoSQL stands for? Anybody? Anyone? NO means not only. Only in the data space does no equal yes. That's why they don't understand us. They're setting a standard for identification in the Internet of Things. It's called idiots. True story. That's not going to work. And you may want to check out Integrated Platform as a Service with Governance as a Service. Of course, it's called iPassGas. That is an elevator pitch you do not want to experience, believe me. I'll tell you. Eyes are burning from that demo. My whole personal data philosophy I can boil down to 3 words. When you're a storyteller, when you're trying to convey something, when you're sitting in your executive's office, sometimes it's best to use the fewest number of words. Try that as an exercise. I couldn't get mine down to less than 3. It's 3 here. Truth before meaning. You must determine the truth in your data before you derive meaning out of it. It is not chicken or egg here. It is egg and omelet. You don't have the truth in your data, you're not going to derive the meaning you are expecting. No 2 ways about it. And on this data journey, talk about truth before meaning. What do I mean by that? Determining the truth. And when I talk about truth, it's not political, it's not your personal philosophical truth, it's business truth, it's organization truth. You can find that truth, so don't let anybody tell you can't. You can establish that truth in your organization. And you do it through things like data management, data governance, data quality, data stewardship, master data, reference data, metadata, MDM, RDM, PIM, RIM, DAM, all those foundational activities that you know and I know you need to do to steward and curate and deliver that core content across your whole enterprise. You have to do that first before you derive meaning out of analytics and business intelligence and data science and data literacy and visualization and AI and ML and all the cool, hot, super fancy stuff that gets a disproportionate amount of the spotlight and the attention and the funding, considering how dependent it is on the determining the truth part. So I like to think about determining the truth as where data starts, and business intelligence, deriving meaning, is where data ends up. Where data ends up is what your organization generally sees. What data ends up is what the business looks at. That's why they don't get and really understand behind the scenes why some of this core stuff that many of you are here to figure out how to do better is so important. And there's data storytelling out there. I do what's called data storytelling, and I really like to say there's 2 types of data storytelling. There's the deriving meaning part. I wish it had been called analytic storytelling, but that horse has left the barn. All kinds of books out about that. It's wonderful. Stories with data. How to take data and put it in a business context to drive some sort of action. Super important. But before you can tell any of those stories with data, you have to tell stories about the data. The data management story. Why managing data is so important. So 2 types of storytelling. Every organization needs both. It's not Sophie's choice here. You don't have to pick. We got to learn how to do both of them. Now, Gen AI, biggest thing, a hype cycle of hype cycles, the hugest thing out there, Gen AI. And some people wonder, well, now with generative artificial intelligence, do we have a new story? Let's take a look. How long did it take for Gen AI to come out for people to start talking about hallucinations and the training corpus and AI governance? Didn't take very long, did it? And before that, during COVID, when all sorts of companies jumped into e-commerce and realized, uh-oh, our product reference data sucks. And the analysts had record MDM inquiries. And before that, when data science came out, people started suddenly complaining about how data scientists spend 80% of their time munging and wrangling data and 20% of their time complaining about munging and wrangling data. And before that, big data. I can go on. Look, I got plenty of room on the slide here. We're going way back. Big data came out. It needs little data. The only way you get value out of big data is to start to structure it, to start to resolve it in some way. Pre-2K, when I started, enterprise systems were huge. People putting in ERPs and CRMs, and that's where terminology like harmonizing our legacy data and silos and domain masters started to get into the lexicon. And you want to go way back centuries, general ledger, basic principle of accounting. And what do you need with a general ledger? Got to have a chart of accounts. Got to have a chart of accounts. So, from Gen AI to Gen Ledger, we got the same story. Truth before meaning. Because the truth about data management is the success of every digitally transformative customer-facing initiative, every as-a-service offering, every foray into e-commerce, every enterprise software implementation, every generative AI project is inextricably linked to the successful output of your data management efforts. That is the longest-winded, most complicated way I could say G-I-G-O. We all learn this on the first day of data, don't we? Garbage in, garbage out. It's as sure as gravity. What goes up must come down. What goes in must come out. Try to elevate this to the concept of the golden rule of data. Do unto your data as you would have it do unto you. What you put into business, what you put into data management is what you're going to get out of business intelligence or analytics or AI or wherever they feel like calling it this week. I have a healthy cynicism about the deriving the meaning part because they keep missing the idea that they've got to determine the truth first. So you put garbage into ERP, you get a lousy ERP. Put garbage into CRM, you're going to miss customer opportunities. You put garbage into fintech, you'll get a visit from the regulators. Garbage into BI, BS. Garbage into AI, AS, artificial stupidity. Because no matter how you slice it or how you dice it, the golden rule of data prevails. Do unto your data as you would have it do unto you. There's a little bit of that evangelism for you. Or another more philosophical way to put it, good decisions you make on bad data are just bad decisions you don't know about yet. Same outfit. I got the same outfit on. Every company, every organization in this room has a data story to tell, and it's about why managing data is of strategic importance to the work you do. But how do you start? A lot of people like to start, oh, every company's a data company. No, every company's a software company. No, after 2 years ago, every company's an AI company. Really, this logic falls apart immediately. If the tools you use make you the kind of company you are, then every company is a paperclip company. Nobody's bragging about that. Unless you're in the data business, you're not a data company. You leverage these tools to get value to do what you really do. Or you might start your data management story with some analytics from some of the great analysts out there, industry analysts. I love this. I come from the MDM space, so I like this graph particularly well. This survey, Gartner surveyed organizations to determine who can measure the value of master data. 90% said, no, we don't measure it. 10% said other. I'm assuming yes is in other somewhere. I love MDM wherever I can find it, so I had to pull off the road and take a selfie in front of Michelson Door Manufacturing. But when you explain things like MDM, like master data, really hard for some folks on the business side to understand, and it should be. They don't need to understand all of those in the technical way, but I use words like, it's a common language. We have to have a common language across our organization for the most important parts of what we do. Our relationships, our brands, our locations, the things we do, the people we work with. We have to have a common language for that across our entire organization. You want to establish a standard. I don't care how non-technical you are. You understand what a standard is. You got to bring an adapter when you go to Europe to plug something in. Things work together. People understand standards, and you're trying to establish a standard for your organization. And to a certain level, it's about rows and columns. If you think about a really complicated data visualization technique, let's call it a table. People are really good at columns. They're really hard at rows. Columns are easy. Rows are hard. Take two spreadsheets and bang them together. What do you get? Lots of columns and a bunch of rows that don't align. Columns are the analytics. Rows are the master data. Columns are the meaning. Rows are the truth. The columns are about the rows. You got to align the rows. And on a recent trip to the Acropolis, I was reminded it's all about rows and columns. Leave that one for a bit. Thank you. Thank you over there. Data management, I know it can equal pain. It is painful out there. I know what you go through. And I work with a lot of data management leaders. They don't use those kind of cute little euphemisms like, oh, we have a hurdle or we have a challenge. They talk about physical pain. Reminded of an early call I made. I was talking to a sales organization, and the head of sales stood up and he said, Scott, we can slice and dice our data any way we want to. All I have to do is push a button. And this really courageous analyst stood up at the end of the table and said, sir, I'm the button. I'm sure some of you are the button in your organization, and it hurts, doesn't it? So I'm going to show you what pain looks like. This morning, this is graphic content. It's going to be disturbing to any data stewards in the room. No kids are here. I call it naked data because there's no way to hide from it. You ready? There it is. That's it. These are from embarrassingly large global organizations who don't know what they're doing with Coca-Cola. Can't spell Nestle the same way twice. Trying to deal with 7-Eleven. I don't know if you picked it out yet, but 7 equals 11. Not in base 10. This is it. This is the garbage in. And this last column here came from a organization that had a retail sales force, and they put people out in the field to check on merchandising situations at 7-Eleven stores. We took a look at their data, and they had over 275 different configurations of the 7-Eleven banner name. Lots of creativity in the field. None of it selling product. Look at this. This is what got me the gig. Jeff saw this slide. He's like, I got to get this guy in here. And if you think the software is going to fix it on its own, you put this in Excel and you get July 11th. Except when you're in Europe and you get November 7th, so even we can't agree. I've been using this slide for 30 years, which is exciting because people still love it, and extremely depressing because it still makes the same point. Here's another one, another example. Sometimes the data's okay, but the system doesn't read it right. I don't know if you notice here, but take a look at these shoe sizes. I wear a 5th of October. Structured data works harder than unstructured data. Period. Stop. Structuring data in your organization, resolving data in your organization at the entity level will provide more value to you than if you don't. So a lot of fanfare about unstructured data. The way you get value out of unstructured data is to put some form of structure on it. What is this stuff about? Is it about a relationship? Is it about a brand? But how do you explain that in a way that your CEO can understand? So give this a whirl. Don't do any data modeling off this. I try to talk about this as the 4 C's of data structure. Code, company, category, and country. So you have a record, it needs a code. It needs an identifier. I have a code, therefore I am in a database. Hopefully it's unique. But when you have a code on a database, it allows you to determine, yes, this exists. It authenticates that identity. It resolves that entity. You can do things like count how many things you have. How many customers do we have? Well, it depends. It shouldn't depend. It shouldn't depend. So once you have a code and you've resolved that entity and you know what that lowest level is, then you want a company or who owns it. You need some sort of hierarchy, a parent-child relationship, a build to, ship to, plan to, sell to. Whatever kind of work you do, there's different levels of organizations and relationships that you deal with, and you need to have that hierarchy structure to resolve and do really important use cases like we're sending a salesperson to that lower left oval. Did they know it was related to that lower right oval? That's bad debt? Really simple stuff. Then you need to know what kind of thing it is through a category. Category drives all kinds of use cases. Targeting. We're really good with this kind of thing. We have to find more of this kind of thing. Or segmentation. What types of things are good for our business or our organization? Market share. Now, we all have categories somewhere. I haven't looked at any of your databases, but I can just imagine you all have a top 10 category called Other. It's got Other. Or Other. It's another one. Why do we have Other? Because it's so hard to spell miscellaneous. Looked at one database that had an attribute value, DK. We asked them what that meant, and they said, don't know. It's another form of Other. And then you need country or some form of geography. Where is this thing? Think about how much geography defines how you can use data, how you can store data, what you can do with data. You have to have that geography as well. There's all kinds of structured and taxonomy and geography there. It could be a zip code or a postal code or a city or a state or a province or a region or a sales market or a media market or a measurement market, all different kinds of forms of geography. But when you have these 4 C's, code, company, category, country, now you might call it something else in your organization. And that's where the nuance comes in. How do you tell your story? By using your language. It might be an entity, hierarchy, taxonomy, geography. It might be a location, account, channel, and market. It might be a product, a brand, a segment, and a region. It could be an item, an owner, a sector, and a location. It could be a thing, parent, type, and place. But when you have these 4 C's or some concept like this, you know where something is, you know what it is, you know who owns it, and you know it's unique. Think about all the data problems that go away. Just going to take a Zen data moment here for you, thinking about all those data problems going away. Everybody take a deep Zen data cleansing breath. Feels better just thinking about it. Now putting this in play here, just in an abstract. Here's a geography. Call it Washington, D.C. Metro. Call it St. Louis. Call it the Midwest. Call it EMEA. Doesn't matter. It's some configuration of geography. There are things in that geography. My time up? There are things in that geography. There are different kinds of things. They roll up to different hierarchies, some of them in the geography and some of them outside of the geography. Some people are already getting stressed seeing this. They know what this is like. And those things put their stuff wherever they want to, despite your geographic definitions, and you need to know where they are. So this very abstract thing, anybody just walking in has no idea what we're talking about. This very abstract graphic here defines a lot of reporting that you do. We're doing something in yellow. How many things do we have and how many types are there? We're working with blue. What markets are they in? We're dealing with red. Who do they compete with? Again, entity, hierarchy, taxonomy, geography, code, company, category, country gives you that kind of structure to do all the rest of the work. Got to start here. Data value, really big topic in LinkedIn. Everybody's talking about data value. I want to share with you what I call the 8 8s of data value. And these are, in my experience of all these years, pretty much the only 8 ways people get value out of data. A bit of a challenge there. If you come up with a 9th one, let me know in the break. Has to rhyme with 8. But there's probably some edge cases somewhere. But this is where most of the data that most of the time bring most of the value most often, okay? So this is the stuff you usually focus on. So these 8 8s, I have this little framework here, and at the pinnacle of the framework is relate. We all want to have relationships. You want to build relationships. You want to grow relationships. You want to improve relationships. You want to mitigate the risk of some form of relationship. You want to avoid other types of relationships. But we all have relationships. If you don't have relationships, you don't have a business. That's where we want to end up. But before you start, way down on the bottom, you got to validate. You got to disambiguate. You got to at least search before create. Otherwise, you get duplicates. That's where it happens. Right in the beginning. Is this relationship okay? Should I have it? Do I have it already? Is it something that's trying to fool me? All those things are at the beginning before you go on to build and nurture some form of relationship. You got to have that established up front. Then you want to integrate. How do you take all the disparate sources of data you have and pull it all together in some way, add a lot more columns to each of those rows? Then you want to aggregate. Aggregate is what most reporting is, some kind of roll-up, right? So how many things do we have, and what markets are they in, and what kind are they? What's our top customers? What are our top relationships? What are our top brands? What are our top competitors? All that stuff comes in some form of aggregation. If you don't have those 4 C's, code, company, category, country, you're going to be missing data all over the place. And then you want to interoperate. How do you communicate and work on a code-to-code, data-to-data basis between parties, between systems, between and across your entire ecosystem? If you want to scale, the only way to do it is through interoperability. Can't do it by hand. So that builds that foundation of determining the truth. And then on top of that, then you can evaluate. Then do BI, then do AI, then do the analytics that everybody's dying for. You've got to have that foundation first, so then you can do that. Then you can evaluate and do analytics. And then you want to communicate. How do you take that insight and convince somebody of something? To take some form of action on your behalf, on their behalf, through what you found out in the data. You've got to be able to communicate. And again, standardization is key. How many of you have been in a meeting where, okay, we've got 12 of something, and they have 9, and 3 of them are different, and we're arguing about the definition of whatever, and before you know it, the meeting's over. So you got to have that structured stuff to be able to communicate, and then you can build relationships. If you want to have relationships, you got to be able to communicate. Just ask anybody you love. Now, there's 7 eighths here for those of you who are counting. The eighth is, oh, well, there's my love sign there. Circulate. Data to have value has got to be in motion. It can't get stuck in some silo somewhere. It can't be locked in a PDF. It can't be just guarded by that person who's always done that special report forever because they're the only ones who know how. Those days are long over. If that person is still doing that, they just haven't been caught yet. Data has got to move across your organization in a standardized way that people all understand it. That's where you get value. The 8 eighths of data value. Now we're going to get into this. How do you find that story? How do you find the story for your organization? You all do different things. A lot of folks here from the government. We've got banking, oil and gas, media maybe, manufacturing, all different kinds of company. My company is so different than everybody else. My organization has these particular issues that no one else has. At this foundational level, again, it's really common challenges. You are, as I mentioned, more the same than you are different at this foundational level. And every company, every organization I've ever engaged with wants to provide value to their relationships through your brands at scale. Provide value to your relationships through your brands at scale. What do we mean by that? Providing value, grow, improve, protect. You want to grow the business, increase sales. You want to improve the business, operational efficiency. You want to protect the business, mitigate risk. Pretty much only 3 buckets out there of value. If you find something, throw it into those buckets. Keep it simple. Do you need 52 ways to get value out of data that you're going to tell your board? Keep it simple. Roll it up. Aggregate. Find ways to communicate these at a very macro level so the business and the support side understands it. Grow, improve, protect. If you want to scale, you need technology. Technology, hardware, software, data. If you have data, you need data management. Checkmate. Now, relationships. Yes, you all have relationships, but you call them different things depending on your organization. It could be a customer or a vendor or a partner or a prospect or a citizen or a patient or a consumer or a client. Different terminology based on what your business and your organization does, but we all have relationships that we want to bring value to, and we all have brands of some sort. some kind of offering, a product, a service, a location, an asset. You've got ingredients and piece parts that go up in to make that kind of thing, whatever it is. You all are trying to provide value to your relationships through your brands at scale. And if you get people to sign off on that, yeah, that's what we want to do, then how's the data on your relationships? Does it look like 7-Eleven? How's the data on your brands? Does it look like that Coca-Cola? That's how you start to tie these really what seems kind of clerical, mundane, back office activity to the essence of your business, to the essence of your organization. Now, a framework I use for this is called the 3 V's of data storytelling for data management. Obviously, a knowing wink to the 3 V's of big data, but mine are vocabulary, voice, and vision. Vocabulary. The words you use are important. You want to establish an accessible vocabulary. The terminology is critical. Skip all that legacy lexicon. If you want to talk to your business, you have to speak the language of your business. Don't teach them all these terms. They don't care. Speak their language. And if you don't know their language, learn it. It's your job to know what your CEO calls things. It's your job to understand what your board feels is important, because you'll find the data hooks in there. And there's a lot of legacy language in the data space. Data quality, data hygiene. I know those are important, but they don't sell. If the idea of data quality sold, we all wouldn't be here preaching about it so much. We've been whining about data quality for decades. Data hygiene. You want to clear a room with stakeholders? Just tell them you're going to do a data hygiene program. They're going to run it for the door. Nobody wants to be involved with that. So those are important things, but they don't attract support and stakeholder engagement. Now, voice is the way you talk. You want to harmonize to a common voice across your department. Harmony doesn't mean everybody sings the same notes, but it does mean they sound great together. So how do you harmonize that? How do you all tell the story of the value you bring to your organization? Get your story straight among the rest of your team. Practice it. Do it. Get up on your feet. Am I making you a little nervous there? Yeah, well, I have a fear of not public speaking, so I'm different. But the rest of you have to learn how to communicate in your organization. If you want to be a leader, you've got to be able to stand up confidently in front of people you don't know and ask them to do stuff for you. So get that voice ready. Go get some training. Go work with somebody. Create kind of an internal marketing program if you want for the data management effort. It doesn't have to be fancy. You're not going to Madison Avenue. Use your own business as an analogy. I'm picking on, obviously, data's the new oil with my title, because that's a ridiculous analogy. Unless you're in the oil and gas business, nobody understands it. I'm glad that thing kind of went away, but people were arguing about, well, it's the new oil because you got to refine it to get value. No, it's not like the new oil because it's not sustainable. If people are arguing about an analogy, guess what that means? It's bad poetry. It doesn't work. The purpose of these figures of speech is to shorten the distance to understanding. It's not to spend 20 minutes explaining an analogy that you started with. So use your own business. I heard somebody from the Department of Defense say, data is the payload of our organization. Not everybody can use that one, but that worked there. There's a guy, a data leader at SeaWorld, and he just called his program Data World. Ken, he's not making commercials, but it makes sense. I work with a shipping organization, and we used their business process as a way to describe how they dealt with data. They had packets of data. They knew the provenance. They knew where they were going. They knew the purpose. They could track it all the way across the pipeline. A CEO of a water utility talked about how we have this reservoir of good, clean data. Has to go through all the pipes. The users have to trust when they turn the spigot, the right stuff comes out. Again, play with it a little bit. Take your company's slogan and put the word data in there and see if it works. Do something is better than doing nothing. Do something. Get a little bit creative. And finally, vision. Why it's important. Everything we do in data needs to enable the strategic intentions of your enterprise. Where is your organization going, and why is data going to help you get there? That's the story you got to tell. understand what your strategic intentions are. What are your goals? What are your objectives as a business? The business objectives, not the data objectives. And if you don't know those, learn them. And easy ways to learn them, if you're a public company, read your annual report. It's all in there. Listen to your Investor Day presentation. Listen to the investor calls and hear what the analysts ask. And hear what your leaders say. And they will give you the clues. And I will tell you, they ain't going to talk about data quality. They're not going to talk about entity resolution. But they are going to talk about relationships. And they are going to talk about brands. And they are going to talk about markets. And they're going to talk about doing things at scale. And you can connect the data work you do all day long to the ability to enable that stuff. Let me show you an example. This is a composite of an Investor Day presentation from a Fortune 200 company. So took some slides and cut out some pieces in there. Vocabulary, voice, and vision. Let's see if we can find it. Where's the vision? It's right there. It says our vision. Our vision, we aspire to be the premier partner of choice for our customers, suppliers, and employees. Relationships. Right there. A single phrase that says what this whole organization does. Their voice, customer engagement, enterprise effectiveness, brand management, grow the business, improve the business, protect the business. The vocabulary all throughout all their different business units. 800 suppliers, 90 countries, all different forms of geography, all kinds of different customers and customer hierarchy. The vocabulary was all in there. This was an actual presentation I did for this organization. We said, okay, there's that vision. Now let's look at the data. Here's a real example, the data reality. They had 185 copies of the same record. Ain't nothing strategic about that. That's the garbage in. How could they possibly be the premier partner of choice for Panasonic Mobile Communications if they got 185 copies of the same record? So literally, checkmate. And I've used this slide plenty. It's not just for this group here, but I'll add this headline. The business vision was dependent on entity resolution. You could draw a clear, hard line between the crap they got in their data and what their board is pitching to the marketplace about what they want to be. Boss, we can't get there from here. Let me show you. Have you seen 7-Eleven? Have you seen Panasonic? You got to rub their nose in it sometimes. I call it a process called telling somebody their baby's ugly. When you have data like that, you can't hide from it. You got to show them. We got ways to fix it. So leverage these 3 V's of data storytelling: vocabulary, the words you use, voice, the way you talk, and vision, why it's important. And the most powerful delivery system ever invented for an idea is a story. Aaron Sorkin. He wrote some great ones. The West Wing, Social Network, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth without data management. But all respect to Aaron and Jack, with data management, you can handle the truth. You can handle the truth. All right, to wrap up here a little bit, I'm going to show you one last story. It's a cautionary tale about the lack of engagement for data governance. It's a little data bedtime story I read to my grandson. It's called The Little Red Data Hen. I hope you enjoy it. How are we doing today?
Yes.
Should we read some books?
Yes. Could you read me a book about data governance, Pop?
Of course I can. How about The Little Red Data Hen?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, in a legacy barnyard, there was a little red data hen. She knew all her data could help all the other animals do their job better, but they never paid enough attention. One day, the little red data hen called all the animals into the barnyard. Who wants to create a data-driven utopia of interoperability where our insights flow freely from workflow to edge across integrated ecosystems? Asked the little red data hen.
Not a lot of buzzwords.
I know. Who wants great data? Asked the little red data hen. I do. Mood, the sales cow. I need to cross-sell and upsell. I do. Barked the finance puppy. I need to maintain regulatory compliance. I do. Oinked the marketing pig. I need better targeting for our customer journey. But the little red data hen had a big problem. All our data is a mess, she said. and it's stuck in silos. And because she lived on a farm, those were real silos.
What are silos?
That's a place where people keep data separate from other data.
Why?
It's a problem everywhere.
So they don't get mixed up?
Yeah, so they don't get mixed up. I'm seeking stakeholder engagement, said the little red hen. Who will help me collect and catalog the data, she asked.
Not I, mooed the sales cow. I need to focus on revenue.
Not I, barked the finance puppy. I don't see the immediate ROI.
Not I, oinked the marketing pig. My priority is brand equity.
Oh, very well, I'll do it myself, said the little red data hen. And she collected and cataloged all the data she could from all the silos and migrated it.
Did she do ETL?
No, she did ELT.
Oh.
Now, the little red data hen needed more help. Who will help me govern, structure, and steward the data?
Not I. You're in charge of data, not me.
Not I. That sounds like an IT job.
Not I. Just upgrade your software stack and that will take care of it.
Oh, very well, I'll do it myself, said the little red data hen. And she went off and established a data governance skunk works. And because she lived on a farm, she used a real skunk.
Yeah.
Finally, the little red data hen thought she had everything ready to go. She had taken the data from the silos, she cataloged, governed, structured, and stewarded the data in a hybrid cloud data lake behind the barn.
She could use a data mesh.
You're right. Who will help me leverage all our trusted data? Asked the little red hen.
I will. Now I have customer 360.
I will. Now all our numbers tie out.
I will. Now we can reduce customer churn.
Finally, the whole barnyard can have consistent KPIs. They all mooed and barked and oinked. The little red hen was so happy and excited. Unfortunately, it was too late. By that point, the legacy barnyard was disrupted by a data science-based farming startup that used predictive analytics to provide an innovative crop-as-a-service offering.
What's that?
They had to close down because they waited too long to fix their data.
Why?
They just couldn't get the stakeholder engagement. The finance puppy was given away. The sales cow, the marketing pig, and the little red data hen were all sold to a food service operation. Don't be like a bunch of silly barnyard animals. Managing data is the job of the whole farm. The end.
Such a funny book. Papa, is data the new oil?
That is a different story.
Let's hear it for my grandson. Data Whisperer Jr. He just got named in the Data 10 under 10. We're so proud. So if you want to live happily ever after here, telling your data management story, every enterprise has a data story to tell. It's about providing value to your relationships through your brands at scale. Two types of data storytelling. One about data management, determining the truth, and one with analytics, business intelligence, deriving meaning. You want to balance the how and the why. I over-rotated on the why. I understand that, but you got to know how to do it once they say yes, but everybody can get better at the why part. Leverage those 3 V's if that works for you. Vocabulary, the words you use, voice the way you talk, and vision why it's important. The 4 C's of data structure, the 8 Aids of data. If that stuff helps you, it's on YouTube. Again, it's a simple way to describe it. Stories can work faster than processes. And an effective narrative can really galvanize your team to have them understand the kind of value they bring to your organization every day. And storytelling is a superpower. Get better at it. You'll be able to create these miracles, like having somebody who you're dying to have agree with you go from, I have no idea what you're talking about, to how do we live without this? That's where you can bring them. In the last page of my book, I'm not giving away the ending here, but hardware comes and goes, software comes and goes, data remains. I want to thank you all. I want to thank the team and Jeff and Suzanne and Jamie for saving me and everybody else in the group. I want to thank the AV folks here as well. I had a ball. Hopefully you did too. Happy to sign your books today. There's a QR code if you want to get to my LinkedIn profile or my YouTube videos and things like that. But until then, I'm Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer. Thank you all very much.